Hello, hello. This is Meredith lower body workout. So we're going to do a little bit of an extended video today to just teach the exercises we're doing and the structure that we use. We're doing a single leg RDL, like a staggered stance RDL, into a deficit reverse lunge. The benefit of doing this is it really helps to focus on the lower glute. So one of the things we're looking to develop for her is to build that fullness and roundness of the glutes, and especially balancing the bottom to the top part of the glute. So we're just now warming up. You can see we're using some light dumbbells to get things going, but I'm sure it's burning. We train upper body, lower body workouts, and we just basically alternate all the time. Now we'll take a day or two off here or there when schedule kind of requires it, but our goal is to just stay busy, stay active. And Meredith is getting ready for NPC figure competition. The benefit of training this often is it keeps muscle damage present pretty much all the time. So that's going to increase her resting metabolism, like how many calories she burns at rest, because her body's always trying to recover from workouts. So that is part of the benefit. The aspect that can be challenging with this is you don't really worry too much about performance. So whether we're using 20-pound dumbbells on these or 25 or 30, it really doesn't matter. Our main goal is actually muscle damage, not performance. So you do have to kind of let go of the ego a bit to train this way, but it's a really good way to push muscle shape adaptations as well as pushing the metabolism for fat loss. So she's doing a great job. We also have some rollers set up here that she was doing a quad stretch with, maybe we'll show you. And then the next movement we're going to go into is actually an abdominal exercise here with the platform and foam roller. And then our kind of bigger, more aggressive movement for the day is going to be squats on our Roger Squat Pro with elevated heels. So it's a very quad dominant type squat. You can see some of her old photos, old competition photos, pretty badass. So she's doing a really good job. Excellent. And then the exercises that we do every workout do change. Kind of depends on how her nervous system is feeling that day. If she's feeling fresh as a daisy, we do some pretty aggressive things. If she's feeling as fresh as a flattened daisy that someone stepped on, we do less aggressive things. But being able to change for CNS is very helpful. So now the next one, she knows what this is. So I'll let her show it to us. But this is a really good one for abdominal exercise and to pull in the lower abs as well as strengthen the groin muscles. So she's going to be pinning the foam roller between her heels and her knees, and then she's going to tilt back and balance on her butt, and then she has to push into the foam roller for 5 counts. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. And we're going to do 5 reps of those per set today. So that is going to help. So squeeze, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Now she's going to keep going. So when we say squeeze, what she's trying to do is use her hands to almost push the foam roller down through her feet. But she's squeezing so hard with her feet and her knees that the foam roller can't be pushed down through. That fires off the lower abs, hip flexors, and all the groin muscles. So this is a really good way to train your abs, where it actually teaches the abdominal muscles to pull inward and tighten and tense. So you can get the rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack, but you also get the transverse abdominis, which is the inside sheath of muscle that kind of holds around the organs. So we're really trying to pull all that in and tighten up her midsection. So it's a little bit of an abnormal one, but it's a good one. So there she is doing the quad stretch. This is a variation of a couch stretch. So if this was done on a couch, she would be in a kneeling position, but we do it in a standing position because when you do it on a couch, whatever leg is bent back, you can see her far leg is bent back, that knee would have to be pressed into the ground or into some kind of mat. and that can actually annoy some people's knees. So doing a standing version of a couch stretch is awesome. You can use the foam rollers like we have here. Sometimes people have like the foam rollers you lay on the ground with, but it's hollow. In that case, you would just put a barbell, like we have a barbell up here. You would put that on J-cups around this height, and then just slide that foam roller over top, and that can work. Some people just wrap a towel around a regular barbell, but you're looking for something that you can rest your ankle on. So if you notice, she has her ankle pressing into the pad, not her toes. You want your ankle joint to remain relatively neutral, so that way you're not pulling on the kneecap. You're getting more of the pull through the upper quad and the hip flexor up in this area. When you do this correctly, it burns like crazy. So does it burn? Yep. But that's going to be a very good movement before you do anything that's quad dominant, because it helps to loosen the tension in those quad muscles. So you can see here in her competition photo, what we're trying to stretch is all this up here. If you stretch this, that gives more freedom of movement down through the kneecap, and you actually experience less knee pain when you're doing quad dominant movements such as lunges, hack squats, even heavy leg press, or what we're about to do, which is the squat pro. So we're coming back here, and right before we started, we kind of talked about doing a few rounds of these first. So I'll have her do 2 rounds where we do this RDL and reverse lunge and then the ab exercise. We're going to do 2 rounds of that before we do the squat pro, because the squat pro, when you move this machine, you'll see here in a second, like this whole chassis is kind of the starting weight, and that can be a little on the heavy side. So having her more warmed up before we do that is very helpful. With this movement, what we're really trying to focus on, a couple things, but one dominant thing is to maintain heel pressure on the platform. So she wants the majority of her weight to be in the heel of her foot, not heavy into her toes. And this would be both for the RDL and the reverse lunge. If you press through your heel, you're going to better use your hamstring and glute. If you get into your toes, it kind of transfers forward into the quadriceps, and then that can also cause knee pain. So staying on your heels is very helpful for this movement. The other thing we're looking for is, you notice on the RDL, the leg that kicks back. This is a deficit RDL. She's not really putting much weight, if anything, on there. She's doing just enough to be balanced. So we have, say 99% of your weight on the front foot. And that's going to be your main focus for the RDL. And then for the reverse lunge, you can see she's getting a very good hinge, meaning her torso is tilting down towards the ground. And that's going to help to activate more glutes. If we were to do this with a more upright torso, which sometimes is done when you do a goblet hold, is you hold a single dumbbell to the front of your body, she would have a more upright torso. That would emphasize more quadriceps. So by doing a hang hold here, where the weights are down at her hips, that's allowing her to hinge more, get that forward torso angle, and that's going to activate more glutes. So doing the same movement, but by simply changing where you hold the weight, can change which muscles you emphasize. So that's very helpful to know. Then the other thing we're looking to do, let me kind of get around to the back side, is to maintain our balance. We want to maintain balance point when we're doing this, that we have our balance shifted all onto that foot. So again, if you notice when she steps back, she's not putting weight on this foot, then trying to center her hips between the 2 feet. She's keeping her hips centered over the working leg and putting minimal effort into the supporting leg. So that is very helpful as well to make sure you maximize the targeted muscle. She's doing a good job. I'm yapping a lot.
No, it's good.
Yeah, you're doing great.
This is after 10,000 steps.
That's true. So she did 10,000 steps already today.
So like it's burning a lot.
Yes. So we've been doing, our minimum target is 7,000 a day, and she is the overachiever that she is. So she's been hitting 10. But that's how we manage her prep, is we have our calorie count and kind of our food for the day, along with protein. So right now she's around 14 to 1500 calories and around 130 grams of protein. And then we're doing 7,000 steps a day to normalize and make our daily activity consistent. And then we're doing our training a minimum of 5 days a week. Sometimes we'll do 6, but usually 5 or 6 days a week. And we have a normal kind of amount of working sets that we do based on the intensity that we choose. So the idea of all it is we're getting consistency with the calories and protein, consistency with daily activity, and then consistency with calories burned in training. And then by controlling the volume and intensity, we have consistency of the metabolic boost that we have between workouts that we count on to help burn more fat. With all that being consistent, then when we want to push for different results, we would just know, hey, if we modify these elements, it can help us. And we know which element to modify, how much to modify, because everything is consistent. So you can see a little bit around the gym here. So very blessed, very lucky. We got a awesome Rogue bilateral leg press, so the platform actually moves one side versus the other. We have a Magnum hack squat, which we love for Meredith to really develop the quad sweep. Then, like I showed, we have the Rogers Squat Pro, little Bulgarian split squat pad. We have the Nautilus glute drive, which my dad was awesome and modified. We actually made a get-up handle. Then we have our lying leg curl. And I really love this one by Cybex. It's an older one, but it has a lot of adjustability for ranges of motion. So you can actually do isometric holds and a lot of other techniques. Then we have our fancy pants dumbbells, plates, kettlebells, all the good stuff. Do you want to try the Squat Pro next, actually? Yeah, because we got 2 rounds in. Let's try the Squat Pro to see where we want the foot plate. So you'll see as she's getting into this, that I believe we have it. Yeah, it's on the shorter setting. Yeah, good. So for this, it's going to mimic a front squat. So this is a very elaborate version of a front squat, or a safety squat bar. You might recognize these pads for a safety squat bar. And then, yeah, that looks pretty good there. So we'll do a set of 10, and then we'll modify the foot position if we need to. What we're looking for on her foot position is we want her to feel like she can maintain heel pressure and kind of drive straight up and down. If her feet are too far under, it'll force her to like almost sit back too far, and then that can aggravate her lower back. So this actually looks pretty good here. She can see she's almost like leaning into the machine, but that's exactly what we want. This is going to help us get a good quad emphasis. So you can see the knees are traveling kind of forward past the toes. That's intentional and that's okay. It's going to help us really load that quad sweep tissue down by the knee. So this is our quad dominant movement of the day. Very good job. So you can breathe a little bit. That actually looked really good. Good, good, good. It looked good. So that's quad dominant. This is core. And then this is a lot of glutes. Even though we're doing a reverse lunge, which technically does use the quads, if you superset it with the RDLs like we are, the lower glute becomes pre-exhausted from the RDL. So the lower glute becomes the greater emphasis on the reverse lunge. So these are actually both glute exercises. So while I'm talking, I'm going to add a little bit of weight to that Squat Pro. Let's just do 10, it's like something light and easy. So this is a typical structure that we would use. Is we have something that does quads, something that does glutes and or hamstrings. Sometimes we isolate them apart. And then something for core, which is good for developing kind of the abs that we want, keeping the ab wall nice and tight when we're on stage. Okay, good. So she's going to do the abs, and then we'll go into another round of the reverse lunges. So again, here you can see the idea is to really push that foam roller down through the knees and the feet to really get that core activation. You don't want this to be easy. This is something like when you're doing it, you should shake. It should be pretty miserable. You should have a hard time breathing. This is definitely harder than she's making it look. So she's looking really good. But this is really good. The clients we have post-pregnancy, if you're looking to rebuild some tissues that have been damaged or weakened, this would be a great exercise for that. You can actually start with your feet just on the ground. When she's sitting in a rest like this right now, you could actually just practice pinching the foam roller with your knees. Do that for 5 seconds, and that helps to activate the groin. And then as you would advance, you would try this tilted one where you're back on your glutes in a V balance. But this is a really good exercise for strengthening the groin, the lower abdominal wall, and all the good stuff. She did a great job. So we've been using these dumbbells, but it's time to move up a bit, which she's gonna love. So let me adjust that. Okay, so put these ones back, nice and pretty. I'll carry these over now. So this is my job in the workout. Sometimes I'm too lazy and I do nothing. So. Okay, while you breathe a little bit, I was going to ask you a few questions. Yes. So, you and I have talked a little bit about the emotional challenge to training this way because you can't focus on performance. Is that something, like, is that true? Is that something you experience?
Yes, I don't like it.
Yeah, it's hard.
You feel like a piece of crap. Because they were 15-pound dumbbells, and I feel like it's 150 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you're never like rested?
No, never recovered. And then also, since she's in a caloric deficit, we have no glycogen. So the fuel source that you typically use for lifting weights, the very short, lazy version would be is explosive effort. You use creatine phosphate. And then as you get into a little bit longer time under tension, you start to use glucose, which is stored in your muscles as glycogen. And then as you go past that, you start to get into like oxidative energy, where you start to use stored body fat and all that fun stuff.
Warm-ups hurt as much as hurts.
Absolutely, yes. So what she's doing now is she's training with one of the fuel sources completely missing. And the benefit is that forces her body to tap into using stored body fat as an energy source to a larger degree than it would typically like, and probably like earlier than it would want to. It would have to use a greater percentage of that. So without having the glycogen, she's going to feel not very good when she works out, in the sense that there's not a lot of, bounce off the wall energy. You're never going to really feel like, oh, I'm just crushing things and feeling amazing. But again, the benefit is you get leaner faster doing this. You use less overall weight, so it's safer on the connective tissue. And it's really helpful when you're trying to target growth like we are, is by using lighter weights, you don't accidentally become kind of thick and bulky in muscles you didn't want to build. So you won't overgrow your obliques, you're not going to overbuild your upper traps. You're going to have a better job isolating out the growth in the areas that you want. So specifically for Meredith, she has done a really good job in the past where she grew her upper glute muscle very well. So it stands out and has a really good shape to it, but we need a little more lower glute to match that upper glute. By using weight loads that are pre-exhausted and lighter, that allows us to actually target more of the lower glute rather than the upper glute. And again, we're doing that also with exercise selection. Yeah, so you can breathe. So we trained at Ghost Gym down in Coral Gables, Miami recently, and they had an old school pendulum leg press. So it's actually made by a similar company, Rogers Athletic Co. They also have pendulum products. But instead of a leg press where it's like a linear leg press like this, that leg press is more actually just kind of flat. And then the platform that you push with has like an arc to it. And that position actually targets your lower glutes very, very well. So a leg press like this, like a linear leg press, you're going to get more quad development, and you would have to have really good ankle mobility and general hip mobility to get a lot of glute work out of this. Now, one of the ways you can fudge that is by doing single leg press, since we have a bilateral machine press. So you would just have one leg resting, and then on this leg you would push up and down, and you can kind of shift your hips over and line them up with whatever leg you're doing, and that can get you more glute on this. So that's how we kind of fudge that. But they had an old school pendulum one, and that was a crazy amount of lower glute. So you can do it with exercise selection variations. So as we said here, by doing an RDL into a deficit reverse lunge, by doing them back to back, it's making the reverse lunge more of a lower glute movement than only a kind of a quad dominant movement. So there's a lot of things you can do with exercise selection and then training frequencies and training schedules to modify weight loads. And this allows us to get that high rate of fat loss, but do it where we can minimize muscle building in areas we don't want and minimize weight needed for less CNS stress and all the good stuff. So a lot of details in there, but hopefully that was understandable. Awesome. So she's doing really well here. We're definitely on what I would believe to be our working weight. So she's doing great. And then as we can, we're going to try to kind of max this machine out now. Yep. Okay, I think what I'll do is I'm going to stop talking for a little bit. We'll take a little break in the video, and we'll come back and show you some of the heavier sets on the Squat Pro. Okay, we're back. So on this machine, we went ahead and did, just real quick, wrap up. We finished up on the RDLs and reverse lunges. We ended up doing, I think, 4 hard sets. 3 at the top weight, but 4 hard ones. And then she did like 5 or 6 sets of the ab things. That was plenty. For the Squat Pro, we've been working on Meredith's ankle mobility. You can see her stretching it actually right now. She has a history, 20 plus years, of doing like ballet dancing and a whole bunch of other dancing. And I'm sure I'm saying that all incorrectly. But, okay, good. So, very high.
Ballet, not belly.
Ballet. There you go. So, being on her toes all the time made her calves super duper tight, but also beautiful and awesome. I love her calves. But they're super tight. That then limits her ankle mobility, which then limits how much she can develop her quad sweep, because if she can't really get her shin to go forward of like a typical 90-degree angle, then you're not really going to get a lot of lower quad when you're doing squats, deadlifts, and things. You're going to get excessive hinging. So that's part of why she was able to grow her upper glutes. So you can see here, like, they look good for sure, but we can get more. So this is specifically where we will be able to develop significantly more, and we've already seen it in like our progress photos and stuff, but that is what we're working to build. And then in her glutes, like you can see up there, like the upper glute is very well developed, so that's very good. You can even see it in her, like that photo, how good the upper glute edge. And then even in this photo, how good the upper glute edge is. Really good because it brings in her taper of her waist very, very well. So what we're working to do is just to build up the bottom to balance the upper. And she wasn't going to get to the lower glutes. She wasn't going to get to the quad sweep unless we could get her knees to angle forward when she's doing squatting motions. So we did an enormous amount, like 2 years, yeah, of calf work, which was not easy for her. But that allowed us to get into movements like this, where although we have her elevated here, you're going to see that she's able to still get her shins to go forward. So her shins are going more forward from a 90 than we've typically been able to do. So this is a significant improvement. And this is going to help activate that lower quad sweep right here when she's coming up out of the bottom and driving right from there. So that's going to help her a lot. So we've been working on that with our squat variations as well as the hack squat to really get her shins to be able to go forward and drive through that lower quad sweep. Now this movement does look like she has a lot of hinging going on, but it's because the squat actually happens at an angle. So there's not as much as what it looks like, and this is still a very significant improvement. She also has long femurs, which is always going to make her squatting motions look more like a hinge than somebody with short femurs where they could do a very uprighted squat. So we have some anatomy things, we have some history of muscle tightness things going on. But how do your knees feel from the couple years we did of therapy?
Perfect.
Yes. How did they used to feel?
Shitty.
Not perfect, yes.
They pinched a lot.
Yeah. So you experienced a lot of pinching pain, and then that would have, reasonably, you wouldn't have chose movements that would have challenged your knee because of the pain. So then, therefore, you didn't get as full of development.
I never did hack squat my first prep. It was just impossible.
Oh, wow, yeah. Awesome.
I'm talking about my femurs.
Yeah.
Rob and I have the same inseam.
Yes.
He is 6 foot. I am 5'2".
Yes. So if we
can
stand...
ride the same size bike.
Yes. So I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this. So, but if we stand, our hips are the exact same height, and that is not normal.
No.
So either I'm a midget or you have really long femurs.
I have long legs for 5'2".
Yes. So, but that is something we're battling. So it's kind of fun because to me it's fun to know that. Is if I was somebody watching this video and I'm like, oh man, I also struggle to be upright in my squats. Well, if you have long femurs, that's just the way it is. Like, you're going to always have that struggle. So finding modifications like having a wedge. We also have Olympic lifting shoes over here that have like an elevated heel to them. So you can see the black part is thicker right there. So that actually elevates your heel. So knowing these kind of positional tricks really helps to get you into good position. So that way you don't have to be mad at yourself for not being able to do something you physically wouldn't be able to do.
Still get mad.
Yes, there you go. So you can still get mad, but also know how to adjust. Yes. So she's going to go ahead and get one last set on here, and then we're going to call it a day. Yeah. So the same thing with this that we would want to focus on with every other movement is the heel pressure. We really want the heels to be where we have the majority of our weight. Now, commonly you'll hear people say, well, it should be midfoot. Yeah, but the problem when you think midfoot, people drift into their toes. So if you think of heel, you'll typically default to midfoot or be in your heels, which is actually not bad. Specifically considering that we want this to be balanced through the joints. And if she already has more of a hinge style squat, we're going to be loading the posterior chain quite a bit. So making sure the heel pressure's down, make sure that we have the joint pressure through the knee and the hips equaled out between the anterior and posterior muscles. So heel pressure when you're doing some type of squat or lunge or like even leg press, hack squat, whatever, is going to be a really important cue and something you always want to focus on. Awesome job. Great job, baby. Okay, so she's good. So that was our workout. Thank you for joining us. We had the alternating RDL and reverse lunge on a deficit. That's about a 2-inch deficit. We had our V kind of ab crunch exercise with the foam roller. And then we had our quad dominant squat. So again, we do something hamstring and glutes, something quads, and something core every single workout. We do that 2 to 3 times a week, depending on the sequence that week. And typically, each workout, we're going to look for roughly 5 working sets of all the movements. So you're looking at 15 working sets per workout. So we're between like 30 to 45 working sets per week, divided across the lower body muscles and the core. Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, put them in the comment section below. If you have any topics or anything you want to see in future videos, let us know as well. Okay, say bye.
Bye.